Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. I am Sean Butler. Bugsy Malone is downstairs waiting patiently for me to take her out, so I won't keep you long on this early morning update. I hope you're all happy and healthy, doing the things you love with those that you love to do them with. But guys, we have a really interesting, a really optimistic update regarding Mohamed Kudus. David Ornstein dropped the bomber last night. We're going to go through his update from the Athletic. Spurs are putting, I think that's a third official bid with West Ham to try to take Mohamed Kudus to Tottenham. It has been rejected, but the club-to-club talks are ongoing. We're going to be talking about that in just a second, alongside what I said in yesterday's video that was roundly and wildly dismissed and disregarded by you guys in the comment section, that were all saying I'm losing my mind. There's no way that Tottenham are getting either of the players, when I said, actually, the story about Noni Madueke going to Arsenal may just open up a new avenue in which you could see both. Now, within that sort of market of hypothesis, those corridors of curiosity in which we like to walk down here on this channel, I have to say that there was some news later in the day from Bayern Munich regarding a really, really unfortunate injury to Jamal Musiala in the Club World Cup, where he broke his ankle, which may now, again, reshape that whole narrative. We're going to talk about that as well, guys. Before we get into it, please smash the granny out of the like button if you don't mind. If you enjoy these updates, hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell and drop a comment. Let me know your thoughts on today's topic. Let's start, of course, with nowhere else to start but this particular video, update from David Ornstein, who says that West Ham have received an offer from Tottenham Hotspur to sign Mohamed Kudus. The bid was worth £50 million and has been turned down, but club-to-club talks continue. Kudus is prioritising Spurs. Love to hear it. If he leaves West Ham, and personal terms for the 24-year-old Ghana international are not expected to be an issue. You love to hear that too. Love to hear that too. The Athletic reported in June that Kudus' contract, which runs until 2028, has a buyout clause that is only active for the first 10 days of July, valued at £80 million for European clubs, £85 million for Premier League sides, and £120 million for Saudi Arabian teams. Wowzers. Wowzers. Look at that pecking order of, it's like official sugar daddy politics embedded into that contract. It's not even like an unspoken, unwritten rule. It's actually a written, stipulated necessity that if sugar granddaddies from Saudi Arabia want to come over and buy all the talent, they got to pay 50% more than European teams. And the Premier League, the sugar daddies of years gone by, have to pay a little smidgen extra because, you know, that's the way it works. The forward has remained on Chelsea's radar after they stalled on completing a deal to bring him to Stamford Bridge from Ajax in 2023 before West Ham sealed his signature. West Ham signed Kudus for a fee of £35 million plus £2.5 million in add-ons in August 2023, and he immediately became a key part of David Moyes' side, recording 18 goals, 10 assists in 48 appearances, 28 and 48. Utilised in multiple positions across West Ham's front line, Kudus had a less fruitful 24-25 campaign, scoring only 5 goals and assisting 4 in 35 appearances as his side finished 14th in the Premier League. Before joining West Ham, Kudus scored 27 goals in 87 appearances for Ajax. In terms of versatility, when he's at his best, he can play anywhere he wants. Essentially, when he's on, he also creates output from any position. He's obviously a fantastic player. He obviously walks into our first team, guys. And a lot of people have been, you know, really, I guess, just like, I think it's a part of the frustration, a part of maybe, you know, the experience and the precedent being set in years gone by, and just knowing the difference between our manager, or our owner, sorry, and say Chelsea's, where one doesn't nickel and dime over a couple of £1 million because they're just used to working with larger numbers. So $1 million here, $1 million there isn't really that big of a deal to these people. Whereas Daniel Levy has built the club up from, you know, smaller investment sizes up to what it's worth today. But if you've started out in life and always been surrounded by those sorts of mindsets that, you know, that every penny matters, sometimes you can be penny wise but pound foolish. And I think that has been, you know, par for the course for some of Tottenham's transfer strategies over the last sort of 25 years, if we like. Now, as I said before, I really do expect Tottenham, I've sort of, you know, hung my hat on it, that Tottenham will break the transfer record this summer and or a new club's highest earner. And I don't suppose Kudus would be the new club's highest earner if wages are not supposed to be a problem, as Ornstein says. But I do think that it's interesting if we just scroll back up here and look at the fact that the clause is only available for the first 10 days of July. So there's an area, an element to me that is slightly worried that is all of this club-to-club sort of talks continuing? Is this just a way to dither and delay and wait until the 10th of July expires, at which point then Tottenham can't even trigger the £85 million release fee if they actually wanted to? Remember, there was some news out yesterday that said that from other sort of ITKs that said that that Tottenham were walking away essentially because they didn't want to get involved in a bidding war, and that there was other people's priorities, other people's or Mohamed Kudus had a preference to go elsewhere. It looks like that's not the case, right? And so at the moment, and Ornstein doesn't usually say things unless they're true. He's not someone that wants to be first. He's someone that wants to be right. And so, I think you have to pay attention to this one. And I think it's really good news. It's really promising news. There is that sort of 3 or 4 day deadline left on that particular release fee. I wouldn't be surprised if Daniel Levy doesn't want to pay it. He's still sort of miles away from that release fee. Be interesting to know what price it is that West Ham are holding out for. I'm guessing they've already given their answer. It would be amazing to know if Ornstein could let us know what exactly the asking price is, so we can figure out how far away Daniel Levy is and whether this sort of, scoping around a little bit for better value might end up hurting us. And the reason why that could be a problem, not just for this particular deal, but also potentially for if there was any chance for an Eberechi resurrection. Again, not that Tottenham have necessarily shown, according to reports, any real major interest, but there has been some conversations that have taken place with the player, apparently, and also with Crystal Palace tentatively. The issue is that Jamal Musiala yesterday broke his ankle and will be out, obviously, for a serious amount of time for Bayern Munich. Now, for Bayern Munich, he plays as a 10 primarily, but also plays off the left wing, which is obviously the similar sort of position, the similar sort of priority as where Xavi Simons plays for Leipzig, and of course where Eberechi Eze plays for Chelsea. For Crystal Palace. And in so doing, in that regard, you might now see another party come to the market with the need for a replacement. Now, part of the mindset, the methodology that I've been talking about with regards to Eze coming to Tottenham following Noni Madueke's move from Chelsea to Arsenal, that's likely to happen. It looks like that's very close to happening. And by the way, Arsenal fans are in meltdown mode about that. And it's hilarious to see. If I'm Noni Madueke, I'm thinking, these guys don't want me. Why would I want to go to a place where I'm not wanted? Because I haven't seen really any Arsenal fans that are on board this particular transfer. The ambitions of the fans is quite something at Arsenal, isn't it? The demands, the expectations. Anyway, and this was the logic of yesterday's video, that if Noni Madueke is going to Arsenal to play sort of right wing and on the left wing, then is there still a need for Arsenal to go and get an Eberechi Eze in a world where either they don't sell Martinelli, they're not going to be selling Trossard in all likelihood, and obviously Nweri staying or looking likely to stay, Arsenal really wanting to stay, although those contract extension talks are still up in the air right now. That is a sort of relevant part of that consideration, the conversation as well. Where does an Eberechi Eze fill in other than just as a 10 if they don't sell Martinelli or if they don't sell Trossard, if they also have intentions to go and get a Rodrigo as well? So those things are conversations that need to happen. Now, you've got the Bayern Munich interest. Bayern Munich obviously were interested in bringing a new left winger anyway. And so they were maybe looking towards either Rashford or towards Nico Williams, and to a lesser extent, Martinelli. Now, Martinelli, of course, is also subject to bids from Saudi Arabia, apparently. So there's lots of things that are happening, lots of moving pieces in the jigsaw, lots of dominoes that might fall in other areas that could affect Tottenham's ability to pursue Eberechi Eze and Mohamed Kudus. I'm not sure that Chelsea will necessarily go for Mohamed Kudus when they do have Eusebio, they do have João Pedro, they have got lots of talent on the wings. They've just signed Jamie Gittins as well. I'm not really convinced that they absolutely need a Mohamed Kudus, but with that deadline, with that 4-day deadline coming, are Tottenham still going to be doing all of the heavy lifting, all of this story, all of this noise, just for us to be gazumped at the last minute? Maybe, maybe not. Obviously, working with Daniel Levy is a stressful experience for most, and that's why there has been that kind of idea floated around about a Tottenham tax. But in terms of the story from Ornstein saying that Kudus wants to come to Tottenham and that player wages are not going to be a problem, Right now, it just comes down to the nickeling and diming and whether Daniel Levy can sort of really go in there with good faith and whether West Ham actually want to deal with Tottenham. In the past, it's been a while, been quite a long time, but we did have a fairly decent relationship with West Ham United under their current owners and under our current owner. So it wasn't like that it's been a nightmare or like an impossible relationship to deal with in the forever. It's only been over the recent years, maybe because of previous attempts, maybe because of the rivalry at the club. But I hold really strong hopes for this one, guys, that KUDUS is going to get done. And like I said, I think the Musiala thing has thrown a spanner in the works because Bayern Munich will absolutely now need to go again. And a lot of the people that they're looking at or have been looking at in the past have been players that are either coming from Arsenal or don't forget that they also had links with Eberechi Eze himself. And so that Musiala injury, I think, does throw a spanner in the works. And I think that maybe, just maybe, they might look at someone like Eberechi Eze and see him as the perfect fill-in for a Musiala. But even in a world where they would stay in Germany and go and get Xavi Simons, which I think is quite likely as well to replace him, then does that mean that if Arsenal can't go and get Xavi Simons, because rumours were out yesterday that they were looking at Xavi Simons, then do they then turn their attention and say, if we're not going to get Simons, we will definitely go and get Eze? It will be interesting. Like I say, guys, I'm not sure how this one pans out, but I do genuinely think that KUDUS is coming, and I still do hold hope that we could get a double bomber. And if you can do that, get those two done, and then obviously go and get a 6. If Romero leaves, go and replace him with a Coney de Winter is absolutely fine with me. And there is a video coming today talking about the value proposition of Coney de Winter and a couple of other people in that sort of in that backline spot. We still need a left back or a right back to come in and compete and complete that sort of backline 4. And then basically we're pretty good, apart from maybe one other sort of ideal situation would be to go and get a striker if Richarlison was deemed surplus to requirements. But if you can get those two done in a 6, absent anything else, it's still not a bad window. Time will tell, guys. Pre-season training is starting, or has been starting for the last couple of days. Hopefully we're going to get some footage and start to see Thomas Frank's methods being employed on the training ground. Time to get excited. Come on, KUDUS, come to Tottenham, get it done. It'd be lovely to get this done the next couple of days, and then we can start to look forward and get excited about a transfer window that's heating up rather than being stagnant and stale. Like, subscribe, and comment, guys. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next one. And as always,